Okay, our final speaker this evening, and then we'll have time for some questions, is attorney Debra Stevenson. She has extensive background in home education, including having homeschooled her 2 children through to college. Debra currently practices education law and Applegate law privately, in addition to working as executive director of the National Home Education Legal Defense. In 1989, attorney Stevenson formed Connecticut Citizens to uphold the right to educate and assist all parents in the state to retain their rights to instruct their children in the home without government interference. She believes in and seeks to uphold the 10th Amendment's provision that all powers not specifically granted to the federal government belong to the states and to the people. In 2003, she went on to form the National Home Education Legal Defense. A national organization was necessary in order to inform and assist all parents in all states in halting federal regulation and retaining authority in the states to instruct their parents in freedom. Instruct their children in freedom. Attorney Stevenson has extensive background as a public speaker. She has spent 10 years as a reporter involving interviewing people from parents to presidents. She has hosted radio programs on a variety of topics throughout her career, been a guest on television programs throughout Connecticut and the country, and has also conducted workshops on homeschooling and the law. Please welcome attorney Deborah Stevenson.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming out today. I also want to say that in my private practice, not only do I help parents when they want to instruct their own children at home, but I've dealt also extensively for the past 12, 14 years with helping parents in public schools and private schools, particularly with regard to special needs children and all sorts of issues regarding education. I also do a lot of work with constitutional law and appellate law at various levels. So what I'd like to talk about today is what parents and educators, local board members, people in the community can do about protecting their rights and what choices they can make and why they have those choices, why they have those rights. In order to do that, however, about what rights we have now, I'd like to go back a little bit in time to explain why we have those rights. So bear with me a little bit, because I do want to go back. It begins with the Declaration of Independence, actually, and a particular phrase: we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That is the key foundation of this country, as we all know. But really understand, we already have rights that are unalienable. No one can take them away. But to secure these rights, we decided to set up an established government. We established government. We gave the government some of our rights, some of our powers and our rights, in order to secure the rest of the rights that we have. So the next slide, we instituted the U.S. Constitution and state constitutions. Now, when we adopted the U.S. Constitution, there was a lot of argument about what kind of power we were going to give the federal government as opposed to the states, because the people in the states and the colonies at that time gave certain powers to their states to secure what they were doing individually in those states. And the argument, as it is today, which should be more powerful, the states or the federal government? Well, I want to tell you that the argument actually ended with the Bill of Rights. And if you go back, next slide, there is a preamble. We've all heard about the preamble to the United States Constitution. But have you heard of the preamble to the Bill of Rights? Anybody? I highly doubt it. Great, a couple of them have. This is an important piece in the connection of how you have rights today. Because the preamble to the Bill of Rights says, the constitutions of a number of the states, having at the time of their adopting the Constitution, expressed a desire in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its powers, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added. In other words, what was happening at that time? What was happening was, again, this argument. And before the Constitution could be ratified, this argument had to be decided and finally decided. And so it was decided by adopting the 10 amendments that we know as the Bill of Rights today. And important in the 10 amendments was the 9th and the 10th Amendment. You go to the next slide. The 9th Amendment says the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights that we give the federal government shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. In other words, we as people gave certain rights to the federal government. And just to be clear, we're telling you in the 9th Amendment, this is what we did. We gave you certain rights to the federal government, but that shall not be construed to deny the others that we already have. So don't misunderstand that, don't misconstrue it, don't abuse it. The 10th Amendment says, now, we talked in the 9th Amendment about rights, the 10th Amendment are powers. So we as people gave certain rights to the federal government, we also gave them certain powers to the federal government, limited powers. So the 10th Amendment says the powers that are not delegated to the United States, to the federal government by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states and the people. So we gave you certain powers, federal government. We specifically enumerated them in the Constitution. We listed them quite clearly. And those that we didn't list to give to you, we kept for the states and the people. That's what the 9th and 10th Amendment says. That's why the argument ended, and that's why the Constitution was ratified. So it's quite clear, looking at the Declaration of Independence, we have our rights. We're going to give you some, but we keep the rest. So, next slide. Powers delegated to Congress. What powers did we give to the federal government? Did we give them the power over education? If you look in the Constitution, absolutely not. It does not say anything about education in the Constitution. Article 1st, I keep getting them mixed up between the state Constitution, talks Article 1st, and the First Amendment. But in any case, point is, we did not grant to the federal government any power or right over education. Therefore, where is that power? It's power that belongs to the states and to the people.